How did you find out you were getting cheated on? A flirty text from a guy popped up on while we were looking at her phone for a place to eat. He complimented a picture I had just taken of her. She sent it to him while around me. Bold. Also, this happened in the Eiffel Tower, only a couple of hours into what was supposed to be 2-week vacation. My daughter told me. I was pregnant and they were doing the standard tests, including STDs, and I tested positive for chlamydia. I was so embarrassed, but glad to have found out because it turns out that can really mess up a pregnancy. Still took me another year to file for divorce though. Edit: since this seems to have confused many people somehow, I was married. My husband got caught cheating on me while pregnant. I forgave him. He came clean. I forgave him and he did it a few more times and we got a divorce. I don't know how this implies that I had a kid by another man, don't wipe properly, did butt stuff, had a false positive. My neighbor told me that there was an odd car parked in my driveway when the ex was supposed to be at work. The other girl was wearing my clothes in front of me. Edit: thanks for all the love, guys. The one part of this entire debacle that was hysterical was that she tried to deny that she was wearing my clothes when I confronted her. Until I pointed out the oil stain on the white shirt she was wearing, which my sister caused when she borrowed said shirt without asking. Plot twist: she and I are friendly now and he's off being miserable somewhere else. I didn't know at the time we broke up, for sure, but she was engaged a week after we broke up. I can't even figure out how that worked, exactly. My friends found out before me. Knew they, the cheaters, were going to the movies together. My friends breed me to go see a movie with them so that I could catch them in the act because they knew I wouldn't believe them if they just told me. True friends. Edit: begged, not breed. The other woman knocked on my front door and asked me to take my kid and get out so that the two of them could be together and be happy. I told her she could have him, but they'd have to go because technically I owned the house. I then told him he was free to go. He did not go, sadly. She'd been dropped off by her ex who she cheated on with my ex-husband. That was quite awkward. He hooked up with random girls when he was supposed to be at his mom. One evening at a friend's party, there was a girl who wasn't of our group, a friend of a friend. She went, "Oh. Hi. Remember me? It was so fun." Phone bill. She was texting some random number 600 times a month. I thought I recognized the number, and when I put it in my phone, it was a buddy of mine. When I saw her reflected in his sunglasses in a picture that he texted me. A man knocked on my door and introduced himself as the husband of a woman that my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that his wife was having an affair with my husband. My husband never came home after that. He got an Airbnb and told me to get a lawyer. We had been together for 24 years. She stopped giving me hugs. Sometimes you just know. Fuck guys, thanks for all the love. Together for about 8 years, married for only 3. Crazy story, but we were living in an abusive scenario with another person and she was what was keeping me sane. It was rough to realize she was cheating on me with this guy. I feel better now. Definitely learned over time that questioning yourself and spending time wondering what you could have done different is essentially pointless. Went on a solo road trip to CA from NY. My then BF of 5 years was supposed to fly to San Diego when I arrived, then we'd drive home together. Pick him up from the airport. Use his phone to pull up directions for our restaurant reservation. He gets a notification from a social media app he must have forgotten to delete. I ask him about it, he grabs his phone and deletes the app. Says it would hurt me more to read the conversations he'd been having with women, and that I'm obviously going to dump him either way, so he wanted to save himself the embarrassment of getting exposed. I made him call his mom and arrange to have his stuff moved out of our apartment. Told him to find his own way home. Finished the road trip home without him. When I got home, it was like he'd never lived there. Exactly how I wanted. When she left me 'cause she got pregnant, and thought it was a different guy's. Turns out I was one of 3 possible dads, couple years later and a few paternity tests, and turns out it was mine. He pocket dialed me while bragging about it to a coworker. The universe really had my back on that one. Was using her phone for GPS while we were on a road trip because mine had issues when she got a text from the guy we had been in marriage counseling about, who she says she hasn't talked to him for months about seeing her tomorrow. 24 years of being together. 23 years married. 2 kids. A house. All down the fucking drain, and ruined my life for a guy who could pass for a real-life Ned Flanders. The girl messaged me from an anonymous IG account letting me know it happened while I was out of town. Maybe I wouldn't have believed it if she didn't provide specific details, like the type of car I drove, that I had let the carless cheater drive while I was gone. Old school. Her little sister ratted her out. Open up the tablet to play with it, found an open email that I had never seen before, read the messages between them. I've never been the same since. Divorced now. We were together for 30 years. Edit, I am overwhelmed by all of your love and kindness. Thank you. Love back to all of you. Yes, I tried and wanted to keep my marriage, but he continued to lie and betray me so that I was left with no choice but to divorce. Do you know what helped me so much? My mom, without asking or anything, came over and filled my freezer with crock-pot meals and casseroles. I was so depressed and I had 2 children to care for, and dinner was always so easy just to pop in and be done with. She did that for about a year. Forever grateful for her thoughtfulness and generosity. Edit 2, together 30 years, not married 30. Sorry for the misunderstanding. Married 24 years. We started dating at 15, married at 21. I didn't have children until my 30s. I was 45 when we divorced. My children were 8 and 10. Thank you all for the stories and praise for my mom. I hope your recovery is faster than mine was. 2 interesting ones from close friends. Friend's neighbor looked into her house from the 2nd floor and saw him fucking the nanny. They are currently in divorce proceedings, though he's still dating the nanny. The more interesting one is a friend was headed to Thanksgiving with her husband when she got a text from a woman saying, "Your husband has been fucking me and several other women," then gave a list of the women. She was aghast, not sure what to do, then the woman sent pics as evidence. The woman was pissed as he had promised her he would spend Thanksgiving with her instead of his wife/my friend. My friend divorced him. I just asked. The idiot saved her number as my little hoe less than 3. This was a long time ago before social media. I went to check my email on his computer and his instant messenger popped up. He ex-girlfriend couldn't wait to finally see him next week, that long distance has been awful and can't wait to reconnect. He told me they broke up. They did not. He did not tell her about me or that we were living together. I was suddenly homeless. She did fly in the next week and gave the ring back. I did not know they were engaged, thought they had broken up. Yay, good times. Edit left off the part that I was supposed to be a summer fling, but we were in a motorcycle accident which I had 5 surgeries and he had a new femur replacement. He somehow forgot to tell his fiancée about my part in this and the subsequent lawsuit. He told me directly. His family members found out about it, and I guess he thought he better told me since it was out in the open. Her roommates called and asked me to meet them for lunch, said it was important. I met them and they told me she had been cheating on me with her ex the entire time I was deployed. They showed me pictures, back when you had to get pictures developed. They said I was a good man and I didn't deserve to be treated like that. They had collected my things that morning when she left for work and gave them to me. I drove to her work, walked up to her, showed her the pictures and demanded the ring back. She gave it to me and I left. Later, she called me yelling about me conspiring with her roommates, basically trying to make it my fault. She asked what I was doing meeting with them. I said, "It's called respect and closure, and it sounds like this." I unplugged the phone, landline, waited an hour, plugged in the phone, and called the phone company, said I needed to change my number, and never heard from her again. I took it really rough and am thankful for her roommates and the friends that got me through probably the darkest time of my life. The guy shot me a message on social media, said he was sorry and didn't know she was in a relationship. I bumped into him at a bar years later and bought him a drink. After 8 years together, he told me he wanted a break to figure out if this was what he really wanted. After I said no, it's either work on things or we end it. A few days later, he admitted he'd met someone. So basically, he asked me to hang around waiting for him while he fucked some other girl for a bit. Good riddance to that one. Had to cancel our plans as some important work stuff came up. Ended up wrapping up earlier than expected. Decided to drive to her place to surprise her. I was the one who was surprised when I noticed someone else's car in her driveway. Literally and figuratively. My ex came to pick up his stuff from my house. The girl he cheated on me with drove him to my house, and we met. My ex started a job in my hometown, pretty far from where we lived. She was going to dinner and snuggling her work boss/boyfriend in a restaurant where a couple people I went to high school with would spend time. So of course one of them saw her and told me. She wasn't very bright. Checked my significant other's phone. Had Domino's in his contacts list. Thought it was weird that he had Domino's number saved and called the number. It was his ex. Done. Me and the other two guys I worked with had it come up in conversation. She told Guy A that me and her had broken up, and she told Guy B that I gave her a pass while I was on vacation. You think she would have learned? Found out a few years later she did the same thing with a couple guys at the gym she was working at the time. Those two guys showed up at her house to call her out on it. She was sleeping with her boss, in the most cliched excuses. I really think if she'd said to me the passion and love was gone, we could have divorced amicably, because I was miserable too. But when she cleaned out our house and bank account, well, that changed the dynamic just a smidge. Fuck you, Michelle. My Nest Cam picked up my dog barking when my soon-to-be ex-wife got home from dropping me off at the airport at 4 a.m. Turns out the guy was on his way to my house while she was dropping me off. She messaged me naked pictures of him in our shower. He tried to play it off like it was an old pic, but it was clearly my shower with my stuff in it. Some people have a ton of audacity and zero shame.